thank you so much for being here for our interview. Can you tell me your name?
Yes, my name's Christy Maxwell,
Awesome. And what school do you work at?
Valley View Elementary,
And what grade do you teach?
first grade.
Very nice. I have a few questions for you.
Okay.
How do you communicate with your students, parents, and colleagues?
Okay, as far as my students, do you want specifically in the classroom, how do we communicate?
Yes,
Okay.
that would be great.
In the classroom, pretty much how we communicate is just, face to face as we're communicating. We talk to each other. Myself, I just talk to them. They communicate together through groups, through partner activities. I communicate with their parents through their agendas. I also have a class tag app that I use with them to communicate. As far as my colleagues, we communicate weekly through team meetings. We communicate with emails when we need to. Administration is the same. They meet with us in meetings weekly as well as through email.
Thank you. What are your favorite classroom strategies for student learning and for classroom management?
Student learning, I love when they get to work with each other. It's just amazing to see what they can learn from each other. I like partner work the best, but I do also enjoy when they can work as teams. They just get more ideas from each other when there's just more than one person as well. And I like to group them where there's a high, there's a low, there's those in the middle as well, so that they can then see other perspectives. I forgot the second part that you asked me. I apologize.
You're fine. What's a favorite strategy for classroom management?
The classroom management. Okay. I have a system that I use where I have baskets, and every day they come in and they start on the A+. And then if they have an issue, they move their little card, I call it, to the A-. And that's just basically a warning for them, because I understand that, no one has a perfect day. And then if they continue to have problems, then they might move to the B or move to the C. And then of course there's consequences with that, where they get a note home or maybe possibly a phone call. And there's rewards if they're able to stay on the A+ or A- throughout the whole entire week. But every day they start on A+, because I want them to be able to come in every day as a fresh new start.
That's awesome. What information can you provide me about the Florida system for school improvement and accountability?
School improvement and accountability. School improvement and accountability, I guess what I could provide for you is when we have our school grades, and when we are A schools, we are rewarded for that. And if we are struggling, then they help us out. They give us extra assistance and provide us things that we need, so that we can address those issues that we might have.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
How do you collect and use data from formative and summative assessments to monitor learning gains and student progress?
With the data that I gather, I can then use it to know if I need to adjust what I've taught, if I need to pull students for small groups that maybe did not, attain what I was hoping that they would attain, and I need to review some of the things with them. Also, it's a great way for me to look at those students who have mastered it and go, okay, I could take those friends a little bit further. So.
Okay, thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
How do you align your formative and summative assessments with standards?
Well, pretty much I look at the standard and I say, okay, what is it that they're expecting my students to know? And then I make sure that my formatives and my summatives are then asking those students to show me what it is they want. I don't want to give them a formative or summative that's not aligned with it, so I just make sure that they do match each other.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you use a multisensory instruction to improve student achievement?
I would would say mostly in math we would use multisensory things, sometimes in science as we
All remaining
do,
bus riders to the bus
sorry.
ramp. All remaining bus riders to the bus ramp.
In science, some we do, with some of our things that we do are a lot of hands-on, but mainly in math, I would say that we use a lot of multisensory things to address things.
Okay. How do the standards you teach affect the scope and sequence of your curriculum?
I would say pretty much the scope and sequences. There's certain things that I know I can't teach my students until I've taught them something prior, because it's not going to make sense to them until they've learned something prior to it. So the scope and sequence, I know if they haven't been taught a certain skill prior to something else, then they're not going to be successful in it. So the scope and sequence helps me keep them on track and helps them to be successful, because if they're not ready for something, then I'm not going to teach it to them yet.
Thank you for that.
Mhm.
Kind of following on that, to what level do the scope and sequence of your standards-based curriculum drive your instruction decisions?
I think it goes back to what I just previously said. I have to make those decisions and say if they're not ready for it because they haven't, been taught something, then I have to either go back and teach them that skill again and wait and teach them something, that maybe they need now later because they haven't mastered it yet. Yes, the scope and sequence can drive it at times, just if they're not ready, I would say.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.